Hello, I'm Tom Turner with a podcast about planting design that relates to my dual biography of John Claudius Loudon and Claudius Buchanan. It's called The Claudians. In 1998, when the Gardenvisit.com website was first published, it included Wakehurs Place, which is run by Kew Gardens. This led to an email from the manager. It said they were very pleased to be listed, but please, don't call it Gardenesque. I replied that it was both a compliment and a precise description of Wakehurs Place's character. The disagreement arose because the term's original meaning has been lost. As launched by John Claudius Loudon in the 1832 Gardener's magazine, it had a very specific meaning. This rested on what Loudon called the principle of recognition. Following the distinguished French art historian Quatremer de Quincy, Loudon argued that if a garden in the picturesque style is indistinguishable from wild nature, then it cannot be admitted to the circle of the fine arts. Since Loudon believed that garden design is a fine art, this was a problem for him. He solved it in two ways. By using compositional principles derived from picturesque paintings of natural scenery, and by using exotic plants instead of native plants. This was a logical and aesthetically successful approach to planting design. But Loudon extended the meaning of Gardenesque when he returned to the subject 6 years later in The Suburban Gardener and Villa Companion. He used it to include other ways of making gardens recognizable as works of art which could not be confused with wild nature. Chief among them was the idea that formal gardens could be described as gardenesque because they are recognizably not wild places. They're recognizable because they make use of the geometrical Platonic forms: the circle, the square, the cube, the sphere, and the straight line. Despite Loudon's logical clarity, most gardeners have been confused by Loudon's account of his idea. In this they are in good company. The Oxford English Dictionary defines Gardenesque as a style of garden design introduced by John Loudon, which puts emphasis on the formal or artistic display of plants, which is opposed to the naturalistic. This is misleading. Loudon was not opposed to naturalism. He loved wild places and wild plants, but his original Gardenesque idea was to use exotic plants with irregular shapes drawn from nature. The esque in Gardenesque means in the style of or like. In picturesque, it means like a picture of a natural landscape. Gardenesque is a contraction of gardener's picturesque. It referred to the composition of garden plants with naturalistic shapes, lines, and forms. This is what Gertrude Jekyll did and what Piet Oudolf does. For over a century, it has been the dominant idea in garden planting. The best drawings of the Gardenesque style are by Alfred Parsons in William Robinson's book, The Wild Garden, though, as the book's title indicates, Robinson disagreed with Loudon about the use of wild plants. The earliest drawing of Gardenesque planting is of Loudon's own front garden in Porchester Terrace. It shows us that the composition was naturalistic. And we know from the written description in his book on the suburban gardener that the plant species were exotic. Wakehurs Place is, and will surely remain, a prime example of this design idea. Near the house at the top of the valley, the species are exotic. Far from the house, around the lake at the bottom of the valley, the plant species are predominantly native. This is an excellent arrangement. In London, my favourite example of the Gardenesque principle is the Isabella plantation in Richmond Park. In May, the planting is very exotic. In autumn, it looks fully picturesque. The best description of it is Gardenesque.